I woke up to the smell of Italian coffee and pure terror. Not in my cozy apartment in the Harbor District. Not in my bed with the floral sheets I bought on sale. But in a luxurious suite that looked straight out of a magazine, with silk sheets that probably cost more than my monthly salary. And then I remembered. Oh God, I remembered everything. The men breaking into my apartment last night. The hand covering my mouth before I could scream. The cold voice saying, "Sophia Romano, you're coming with us." The blind journey, with a hood over my head, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd faint from panic. And then him, Alessandro Vittorio. The name my father whispered in terror in the last weeks of his life. The man sitting in that leather chair as if he were king, studying me with eyes so black they seemed to suck the light around them. His voice saying with brutal calmness, "Your father owes me $5 million. He is dead. So the debt passes to you. And darling, you will pay every penny." But it wasn't the words that terrified me. It was the way he looked at me afterward. As if he was assessing newly acquired property. As if he had already decided my destiny and nothing I said would change it. "Welcome to your new home," he had said. "I hope you get comfortable, because you're not going anywhere anytime soon." And now, waking up in this gilded cage with the morning sun mocking my situation, a single truth hit me with devastating force. I had been kidnapped by the Mafia boss, and no one even knew I was missing. My name is Sophia Romano. I'm 26 years old, and up until 18 hours ago, my biggest concern was whether I should buy that vintage dress I saw in the antique store window. I'm an art curator at the Heritage Museum in Harborview, a job I love despite the modest salary. I spend my days immersed in history, restoring delicate paintings, cataloging pieces that tell stories of past centuries. It's a quiet life. Predictable. Exactly what I need since I lost my father 6 months ago. Papa, Marco Romano, was my world. After Mom left us when I was 10, it was just the two of us against everything. He worked as an accountant, or at least that's what he always told me. He lived modestly, raised me with love and sacrifice, always emphasizing education and honesty. He taught me Italian on Sundays, cooked Nonna's recipes, took me to museums and galleries, feeding my passion for art. And then, 6 months ago, he died. A sudden heart attack, they said. But in the last weeks of his life, he was different. Paranoid, looking over his shoulder, having whispered phone conversations that ended abruptly when I entered. "Sophia, mia cara," he said in our last real conversation. "If something happens to me, there's an envelope in the safe, but don't open it unless absolutely necessary. And don't trust anyone connected to the name Vittorio." I thought he was being dramatic. Papa always had a tendency for the theatrical, but after he died, I found the envelope. And what was inside changed everything I thought I knew about my life. It was a typical Tuesday night. I got back from the museum at 7, stopped at the corner store to buy ingredients for dinner, greeted Mrs. Chen, who always gave me free ginger cookies. I climbed the 3 flights of stairs to my apartment, my backpack heavy with books on Baroque art I was studying. I put the key in the lock, and something immediately felt wrong. The door was ajar. My stomach tightened. I was sure I locked it in the morning. I always lock it. Growing up with a paranoid father teaches you certain habits. "Hello," I called, pushing the door open slowly. "Is anyone here?" Silence. Maybe the landlord? But Mr. Murphy always gives notice when he's going to make repairs. I entered cautiously. The apartment looked normal at first glance. Then I noticed. Drawers slightly open, sofa cushions out of place, books on the shelf in the wrong order. Someone had been here. They had been looking for something, the envelope. I rushed to the bedroom, to the small safe hidden behind the painting of lilacs that Papa gave me on my 21st birthday. My hands trembled as I typed the code. It opened with a soft click. The envelope was still there. Thank God. I grabbed it, about to check the contents, when I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, deliberate, multiple. My heart raced. I looked desperately around. Window? 3rd floor? Fatal fall. Closet? Too obvious a hiding place. Under the bed? "Ms. Romano." A male voice echoed through the apartment. Heavy Italian accent. "We know you're there. Make it easy for everyone. Come out and no one gets hurt. No one gets hurt." As if I would believe that. I clutched the envelope to my chest and did the only thing I could think of. I ran out. Straight for the door, trying to get past the men blocking the entrance. I almost made it. A huge hand grabbed my arm, pulling me back with a force that made me scream. "Not so fast, Piccola." The man was massive. all muscles and scars, with eyes that had seen a lot of violence. "The boss wants to talk to you." Politely. "Let go of me." I tried to scratch, kick, anything, but he was too strong. Another man, this one older and clearly in charge, approached. He looked at the envelope in my hand with interest. "That's what we came for. Hand it over and this gets easier." "I don't know what you're talking about." "A very bad liar." He nodded and the big man held me while another ripped the envelope from my hands. "No, that's mine. Give it back." "It was yours," he corrected, examining the contents. "Interesting. The boss will want to see this. And you." "I'm calling the police." "With which phone?" He pointed, and with horror, I saw my cell phone in a third man's hand, already turned off and dismantled. "Now, you can come cooperatively or we can force you. Your choice." I looked between the three. All armed, I noted. Obvious bulges under their jackets. All watching me with expressions that ranged from indifferent to slightly entertained by my attempt at resistance. I had no choice. None. "Where are you taking me?" "To meet someone your father knew very well, Alessandro Vittorio." The journey lasted an eternity. They put me in a black SUV with tinted windows, a hood over my head so I couldn't see where we were going. I cried silently, trying not to panic. I thought of all the bad scenarios. Kidnapping for ransom? But I had no money. Human trafficking? God, please no. Revenge for something Papa did? That seemed more likely considering the name Vittorio. When they finally stopped and removed the hood, it was dark. But I could see the silhouette of a massive mansion. No, mansion was too small a word. It was an estate, with high walls, iron gates, gardens that stretched as far as the eye could see. They guided me, my arm still firmly grasped, to the main door. The interior was even more impressive. A crystal chandelier that seemed to have more carats than all the jewels I'd ever seen combined. Genuine Italian marble under my feet. Art on the walls that I recognized from famous auction catalogs. Works that should be in museums, not in a private home. This way. They led me down a hallway, then another, until they finally stopped in front of dark wooden double doors. The leader knocked twice. "Avanti." The voice from inside was deep, controlled, terrifyingly calm. The doors opened and I was gently pushed inside. And then I saw him. Alessandro Vittorio was standing by a huge window, looking out at the moonlit gardens. He turned as we entered and my breath hitched. He was beautiful, wasn't the right word. Devastating, imposing. The kind of handsome that Renaissance artists tried to capture in marble but never quite succeeded. Tall, maybe 6'3", broad shoulders under a white shirt that probably cost more than my rent. Dark dress pants, no tie, a few buttons open revealing a glimpse of a tattoo. Black hair perfectly slicked back, strong jaw with a surgically precise trimmed beard, and eyes. God, those eyes. So dark they seemed black, watching me with an intensity that made my knees buckle. Sofia Romano. My name sounded different on his lips. Authentic Italian making every syllable sound like music. Finally. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice trembling only slightly. "What do you want from me?" "Sit." It wasn't a request. It was an order. I forced my legs to move to the leather chair in front of his immense desk. I sat on the edge, back straight, trying to look braver than I felt. Alessandro walked slowly around the desk, his movements fluid like a predator. He sat down, leaned back comfortably, and studied me for a long moment that made my skin prickle. "Do you know who I am?" "Alessandro Vittorio," I replied. "My father spoke your name before he died." "And what else did your father say?" "Nothing, just that I shouldn't trust you." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Your father was a smart man. Too bad that intelligence didn't include loyalty." "What does that mean?" "It means," he leaned forward, "that your beloved papa worked for me for 10 years. He was trustworthy, useful, and then I discovered he was stealing from me, systematically. $5 million over 2 years. My world tilted. That's a lie. My father would never— "Your father," Alessandro interrupted, his voice still calm but with an underlying steel, "was the accountant for my organization. He had access to books, money movements, investments, and he used that access to divert funds. When I found out and sent men to confront him, he disappeared. Conveniently died of a heart attack before I could recover my money." "You're lying!" I stood up, anger overcoming fear. "My father was not a thief. He didn't work for the Mafia." "Sit down," Alessandro said with a calmness that was more frightening than a scream would have been. I obeyed, my legs shaking. I have documents that prove everything. Transactions, emails, even recordings of conversations. I can show you if you insist. But I think deep down you already know the truth. That's why he gave you that envelope. That's why he warned you about me. Tears burned my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Even if that were true and I'm not admitting that it is, what does that have to do with me? I didn't steal anything. Family debts don't die with the debtor, Alessandro explained. That's the rule in our world. Your father died owing me $5 million. You are the sole heir. Therefore, the debt passes to you. That's insane. I don't have $5 million. I work in a museum. I barely pay my bills. I know. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thick file. My file, I realized with horror. It had everything. Photos of me, employment history, bank statements, even my online purchases from the last few months. I investigated you thoroughly. I know you live alone, that you earn $38,000 a year, that you still have $60,000 in student debt you're paying off, that you buy a vanilla latte every morning at the corner coffee shop, that your favorite book is Dante's Inferno. The way he said it, the complete invasion of my privacy, made me feel sick. So you know I can't pay. So why did you bring me here? Because Alessandro closed the file and looked directly at me. There are other ways to pay debts. And you, dear Sophia, will pay this way until I decide we are even. What does this way mean? I asked, my voice firmer than I felt. Alessandro got up and walked to the bar in the corner of the office. He poured 2 glasses of something amber. He returned and placed one in front of me. Drink. You'll need it. I don't want to. It wasn't a request. I took the glass with a trembling hand. Whiskey, by the smell. Expensive. I took a small sip, feeling it burn down my throat. Alessandro drank his own, watching me over the rim. You're going to stay here, he said finally, on this estate, for an indefinite period. Kidnapping me isn't... It's not kidnapping when you owe a debt, he interrupted. It's collateral. You are the guarantee that your father's debt will be resolved. I can't just disappear. I have a job, a life, friends. I've already taken care of that. He picked up my phone, the one the men had taken. I sent an email from your address. Family emergency. Need to be away indefinitely. Very convincing. Your boss replied with condolences and said your job will be waiting when you return. The oiliness hit me. You can't... This is... I already did, he said simply. And before you ask about your friends, they'll receive occasional messages from you saying you're fine, just busy. Technology is wonderful. This is a prison. Kidnapping. You can what? Go to the police? Alessandro laughed humorlessly. Half the cops in this city are in my pocket. And even if they weren't, what would you say? Your father worked for the Mafia, stole millions, and now you're paying the debt? They'd have questions. A lot of questions. About your finances, your life, everything. He was right. And I hated it. For how long? Until I decide your debt is paid. And how do I pay? What do you want from me? The question came out before I could think it through. Alessandro walked back behind the desk, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. For now, your presence, your company, your time. My company? My heart pounded. If you're thinking you're going to... No, he interrupted sharply. I'm not a monster, Sophia. I won't touch you unless you ask. And I highly doubt you will. The relief was so intense I almost cried. Then what? You'll live here, comfortably. You have your own room, access to most of the house, the gardens. You can read, walk, do what you want within the property limits. Occasionally, I'll require your presence for dinners, events. You will pretend to be here voluntarily. You will smile, converse, be charming. Why? Because I have enemies who would love to know I have a weakness. And you, dear Sophia, cannot look like a weakness. You need to look like a choice. But it's not a choice. No, he agreed. But the world doesn't need to know that. Maria appeared minutes later, as if she had been waiting for a signal. An older woman, maybe 50, with kind eyes and a warm smile that didn't fit the situation. Sophia, dear. Come, I'll show you your room. I looked at Alessandro, some part of me still hoping this was an elaborate nightmare. You'll be fine, he said, and for a moment he almost sounded gentle. Maria takes care of the house. If you need anything, ask her. I followed Maria in a daze, through luxurious corridors that became a blur. We finally stopped in front of a door on the second floor. This is your room, Maria said, opening it. Mr. Vittorio had it prepared specially. I walked in, and my breath caught. It wasn't a cell or a prison. It was a suite that Cleopatra would envy. A massive four-poster bed, sheets that felt like clouds, a marble bathroom with a bathtub large enough to swim in, a walk-in closet full of clothes, all my size, all expensive. How did he know? Mr. Vittorio is very thorough, Maria said. When he decides something, he leaves no detail to chance. There were even books on the shelf. I recognized titles, my favorites. What kind of kidnapper does that? Do you have questions? Maria asked gently. Millions, but I don't think you'll answer them. I'll answer what I can, within reason. How long have you worked for him? 15 years. Since he was a boy, actually. I raised Alessandro after his parents died. I looked at her in surprise. You raised him? His mother was my best friend, Maria explained sadly. When she and her husband were killed, Alessandro was only 16. Someone had to take care of him. So I stayed. How did they die? Maria hesitated. That's not my story to tell. But let's just say violence has touched the Vittorio family for generations. Alessandro didn't choose this world. He was born into it. And he does what he must to survive. He chooses to keep people imprisoned. He chooses to protect what is his. Maria gently corrected. In his world, the appearance of weakness is an invitation to death. You represent an unpaid debt. If he let you go, he would look weak. And weak men don't survive. So I'm a pawn. It's complicated, Maria said. But I suggest you try to rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. After she left, I collapsed. I sat on the ridiculously comfortable bed and finally let the tears fall. I cried for my father and his secrets. I cried for my stolen life. I cried for not knowing what came next. Eventually, exhaustion won. I lay down, still dressed, and fell into a restless sleep full of dark eyes and gilded cages. I woke up to sunlight and complete disorientation. For a moment, I thought I was home. Then reality crashed down like an anvil. Captive. Prisoner. Property of a man who blamed my father for betrayal. A soft knock on the door. Sophia, I brought breakfast. Maria entered with a tray that smelled like paradise. Fresh croissants, fruit, coffee that made my stomach growl despite the situation. I'm not hungry. An obvious lie. You need to eat. Mr. Vittorio wants to see you at 10. You'd better be fed. Of course he does, probably to give more orders. More rules to control every aspect of my existence. I ate in silence while Maria organized clothes. Are all these mine? Yes. Mr. Vittorio was very specific about the style. Elegant but not ostentatious. Comfortable but appropriate. Appropriate for what? Being a presentable prisoner? Maria stopped and looked at me. I know you're angry. Afraid. It's understandable. But a piece of advice? Don't fight everything. Choose your battles. Alessandro might seem cruel, but he has a code. He respects strength when he sees it. He kidnapped me. He protected his investment, Maria corrected. There's a difference in his world. After she left, I took the longest shower of my life. The hot water helped my tense muscles, but not my racing mind. I needed to think, to plan, to find a way out of here. I put on black jeans and a cream-colored blouse I found. Simple, but pretty. I refused to wear the expensive dresses that were clearly chosen for me. A small rebellion, but it was all I had. At 10 sharp, a knock on the door. A young man, maybe 25, was there. Ms. Romano, Mr. Vittorio is waiting on the terrace. I followed him down more corridors, through a glass door, to a stunning terrace overlooking the gardens. Alessandro was sitting at a small table reading a newspaper, a cup of coffee beside him. He looked up as I approached. Sophia, did you sleep well? How do you think? I sat in the opposite chair. He smiled slightly. Poorly, I imagined. But it will get better. Eventually you accept the situation. I will never accept this. We'll see. He poured coffee for me, a strangely domestic gesture coming from a kidnapper. We need to establish a routine. Rules. More rules. What a surprise. First, he ignored the sarcasm, breakfast every morning at 10, with me, non-negotiable. Why? Because I want to. Do I need a better reason? I gritted my teeth but remained silent. Second, he continued, you are free to use the entire property except my private office in the East Wing. The gardens are open. The library has 10,000 volumes. The music room has a piano if you play. I don't play. A pity. It's beautiful. He took a sip of coffee. Third rule, no escape attempts. The perimeter is guarded 24 hours. There are guards, cameras, even dogs. You cannot get out. And if you try, the consequences will be unpleasant. Will you hurt me? No, he said firmly, but I will further restrict your freedom. Perhaps keep you in your room. Perhaps have a personal guard following your every step. I prefer not to do that, but I will if you force me. And what if I promise not to try to escape? I don't believe in promises, Alessandro said. Only actions. So I suggest your actions demonstrate cooperation. We stared at each other across the table. The morning light made his eyes less black, more dark brown with flecks of gold. They were beautiful, I had to admit. Dangerously beautiful. How long will you keep me here? I asked more softly. Honestly, I don't know. Until I feel the debt is paid, until I feel justice has been served. And what if my father didn't do what you think he did? Then, he leaned forward, you would have evidence to prove it. But you don't, do you? Because deep down you already know the truth. Your father was hiding things. He was different in the last few months. Paranoid. You noticed but refused to accept it. Tears burned, but I refused to shed them in front of him. You didn't know him. I knew him better than you imagine, Alessandro said. We worked together for a decade. I trusted him. Considered him a friend even. Betrayal hurts more when it comes from friends. There was genuine pain in his voice. I hadn't expected that. So, this is personal revenge, not just business. In my world, he said, everything is personal. After the tense breakfast, Alessandro dismissed me. Maria will give you a proper tour. Get to know your new home. It's not my home, I corrected. It's my prison. It is what you make of it, he replied, returning his attention to the newspaper. Of course, trivializing my situation. Typical. Maria found me minutes later, a gentle smile on her face. Ready to explore? Do I have a choice? You always have choices, dear. It's just sometimes they are between bad and worse. She guided me through the seemingly endless mansion, the formal living room with antique furniture that belonged in a museum, the dining room that easily accommodated 30 people, the industrial kitchen where a chef was preparing something that smelled divine. Alessandro employs 20 people just to maintain the house, Maria explained. A chef, housekeepers, gardeners, security, all loyal, all discreet. All accomplices to a crime, I muttered. All survivors, she corrected. Just like you're going to be. We reached the library and my breath caught. It was magnificent. 2 stories of floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, an antique rolling ladder, enormous windows letting natural light flood the space. Oh my God, I whispered, temporarily forgetting the situation. As an art curator, I appreciated beauty. And this was beautiful. I knew you'd love it, Maria said with satisfaction. Alessandro maintains an impressive collection. First editions, rare manuscripts, even some books that officially don't exist. Stolen, I deduced. Acquired through alternative channels, she diplomatically corrected. You can read whatever you want. Alessandro insists. I spent the next hour exploring. There were works I studied in college, authors I admired, even some of my favorite childhood books. How did he know so much about me? How deep was the investigation? I found a first edition of Dante's Inferno, the same author as my favorite book. I opened it carefully, admiring the aged pages. Found something interesting? The voice behind me made me jump. Alessandro was leaning against the entrance, watching with an amused expression. I didn't know you were there. Clearly. He walked in, approaching me. Dante Alighieri. Appropriate. Why? Inferno, Purgatory, Paradise. Which stage are you in, Sophia? I considered the question. Inferno, definitely. Give it time. Perhaps you'll reach Paradise eventually. I doubt Paradise exists in prison. Alessandro took the book from my hands, his fingers brushing mine briefly. An unexpected electricity surged where we touched. It depends on how you define paradise, he said. For some, security is paradise. For others, beauty. For others still, the right company. And for you? I asked before I could stop myself. He stared at me, something indefinable in his eyes. I'm still figuring that out. For a moment, we forgot where we were, who we were. Just 2 people surrounded by old books and filtered light. Then reality returned. Maria must have shown you the rest, he said, breaking the moment. Yes. It's very grandiose. It's been my family's house for 3 generations. My nonno built it. My father expanded it. Now it's mine. And lonely. The words came out without thought. Alessandro stiffened. What makes you think that? Because it's huge and empty. All this space, all these beautiful things, but without life, without laughter, without love. Love, he repeated with something akin to scorn, a luxury that people in my world can rarely afford. Then why choose this world? I didn't choose it, he said sharply. I was born into it. And when you're born into something, you don't leave easily, especially when leaving means death. There was a story there. Pain. But before I could ask more, he turned away. Dinner is at 7. Wear something appropriate. We'll have company. Company? Business. You will be present. Remember? You need to look like you're here voluntarily. What if I tell them the truth? Then, he turned around, his eyes cold again. They won't believe you. Because a woman being held against her will doesn't smile, doesn't converse civilly, doesn't wear expensive dresses and dine on Baccarat crystal. They'll think you're my mistress. My choice. And you don't want the reputation of a mafia boss's mistress, do you? I swallowed hard. He was right. So I lie. Pretend. There's a difference. Lies break. Pretending just requires performance. What if I don't know how to perform? Alessandro stepped closer, so close I could feel the heat of his body, the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely his own. Then I will teach you, he murmured. I am very good at teaching people how to pretend. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a state of growing anxiety. Dinner with criminals, pretending to be happy, acting as if I were there by choice. How would I do that without falling apart? Maria appeared at 5 with 3 dresses. Alessandro sent these to choose from. Which do you prefer? All were stunning. A red one that screamed seduction, a black one that whispered elegance, a midnight blue that promised mystery. The blue, I chose. It seemed safer. Maria smiled approvingly. Good taste. It will match your eyes. She helped me dress, pinned my hair into an elegant bun, applied subtle makeup. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked sophisticated, confident. Nothing like how I felt inside. Beautiful, Maria said. Alessandro will be... She stopped. He will approve. I went downstairs at 7 sharp. Alessandro was waiting at the foot of the stairs, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than my car. When he saw me, something crossed his face. Surprise? Admiration? Sophia. My name sounded different, softer. You are presentable. What a warm compliment, I replied dryly. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I am not a man of empty compliments, but I can say you chose well. He offered his arm. I hesitated for only a moment before accepting. His arm was solid under my touch, muscles that spoke of physical power, not just authority. Who are these people coming? I asked as we walked to the dining room. Marco and Isabella Rossini. He controls the port operations. She is... Isabella. Very enlightening. Isabella is complicated. She was a model, then an actress, now Marco's wife. She is intelligent, observant. Don't underestimate her. And what do I say? As little as possible. If they ask how we met, say it was at an art gallery. A partial truth is always better than a complete lie. You thought of everything. I always think, he confirmed. It's how I survive. The dinner was an elaborate torture. Marco was a stout man in his 50s, with a loud laugh and a bone-crushing handshake. Isabella was the complete opposite, delicate like porcelain, sharp eyes that missed nothing. So you're Sophia, Isabella said, studying me as we sat down. Alessandro mentioned you. Art curator, yes? Yes, I work at the Heritage Museum. Fascinating. She took a sip of wine. And how did you meet our Alessandro? He is so particular about company. An art gallery, I replied as instructed. We were looking at the same piece. We started talking and I was enchanted. Alessandro completed smoothly, his hand finding mine on the table. The touch was warm, firm, possessive. How could I not be? Beauty, intelligence, a passion for art. Sophia is rare. I forced a smile despite my heart pounding uncontrollably. You're biased. I'm honest, he corrected, looking at me in a way that made heat rise up my neck. He was acting. It had to be acting, but it felt terribly real. Dinner proceeded with conversations about business that I barely understood. Shipments, territories, deals, everything in code, but the intention was clear. These were dangerous men discussing dangerous things, and I was sitting among them, pretending normalcy. Sophia? Isabella's voice brought me back. Excuse me? I asked about your family. Alessandro mentioned you recently lost your father. My condolences. Pain shot through my chest. Thank you. It was sudden. It always is, she said with genuine empathy. I lost my mother young. That pain never completely goes away. For a moment, a connection passed between us. Two women who understood loss. Then I remembered where I was, why I was, and the connection broke. After the Rossinis left, Alessandro guided me back to the drawing room. You did well. I lied convincingly, you mean? You pretended convincingly, he corrected. There's an art to it, and you have a natural talent. It's not a skill I want to have, but it's a skill you need, he said. In my world, appearances are everything, and you, cara mia, need to appear to be exactly where you want to be. The following days established a strange routine. Breakfast with Alessandro at 10, where we talked about everything except my situation. Art, history, philosophy. He was surprisingly well-read. Afterward, I explored the estate. The gardens were my favorite place. Acres of carefully maintained beauty, fountains, statues, even a rose maze that reminded me of fairy tales. Except that fairy tales didn't include armed guards watching every exit. Dinners were less frequent, but always tense. Occasionally there were guests, and I performed the role of the happy girlfriend. Other nights, just Alessandro and me, conversations that danced around truths neither of us wanted to face. 1 week into my gilded cage, I broke. I was in the gardens, admiring the roses, when reality hit me like a tidal wave. I was trapped. Really, truly trapped. No one knew where I was. No one was coming to save me. My life had been stolen. I fell to my knees among the rose bushes, sobs tearing at my throat. I cried for everything I had lost, everything I would never have, for the cruel injustice of paying for someone else's sins. Sophia? Alessandro's voice closer than I expected. Go away! I screamed without looking up. Just go away and let me have this. Let me have this moment. I heard footsteps approaching. Then he was there, kneeling on the grass beside me. What do you need? I need to go home. My voice came out broken between sobs. I need my life back. I need this to be a nightmare I wake up from. I can't give you that. Then you can't give me anything I need. For a moment, only silence between us. Then I felt gentle hands on my shoulders. Sophia, look at me. No, please. Something in his voice, a vulnerability I hadn't heard before, made me obey. His eyes were inches from mine, and for the first time, I saw something besides coldness. There was conflict there. Doubt. I hate seeing you like this, he said softly. I hate being the cause of it. Then let me go. I can't. You know I can't. Because of pride? Of reputation? Of money I don't even have? Because of justice, he insisted. Your father owes me. That debt doesn't disappear because it's inconvenient. And I pay for him forever? My whole life sacrificed for his mistakes? Alessandro ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I don't know how long. I just know it's not over yet. And when it is over, when the debt is paid, what happens to me? You set me free and I just go back to life as if nothing happened? He didn't answer. And in that silence, I understood. There was no plan to release me. This was my life now. Something changed after that day. Alessandro became different. Still controlling, still my captor. But there was an occasional softness that hadn't existed before. He would appear in the library while I read, sit in silence with his own book. He would walk with me through the gardens sometimes, pointing out flowers his mother had planted. He told stories of his childhood that humanized the man I wanted to see as a monster. She loved roses, he said one day, touching a red petal gently. She said they were like love, beautiful but with thorns, capable of hurting even when appreciated. She sounds like she was wise. She was, and gentle. Too gentle for the world we lived in. There was pain in his words. How did she die? I asked softly. Alessandro remained silent for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, a rival of my father's. They wanted to send a message, so they took her. They tortured her. They sent me each of her fingers in the mail until I had all 10. Then they sent me the body. My stomach turned. Alessandro. I was 16, he continued, his voice empty. I found her. I saw what they did. And that day, I swore I would never be weak again. I would never let enemies have leverage. I would never let love make me vulnerable. Love is not weakness, I whispered. In my world it is, He turned to me, his eyes intense. Love is a weapon others use against you. That's why I don't love. That's why I will never allow it. So you're alone. Alone is safe. We stared at each other for a long moment. And in that moment, I saw the truth. Alessandro wasn't just punishing me for a debt. He was keeping me at an emotional distance because closeness scared him more than any enemy. You're afraid? I realized aloud. Not of me, but of what I might represent. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not. You're so used to controlling everything that the idea of feeling something real terrifies you. Stop, he said sharply. You don't know what you're talking about. I do, because I see it. In the mornings at breakfast when you forget to be cold. At dinners when you genuinely laugh at something I say. In moments like now when you let the mask slip. Alessandro gripped my chin, forcing me to face him. Don't mistake courtesy for affection, Sophia. Don't mistake the absence of cruelty for fondness. You are a debt being paid, nothing more. The words were designed to hurt. They worked. But I saw the lie in his eyes. And that changed everything. 2 weeks into the mansion, Alessandro announced during breakfast, "There's an event on Friday. A charity gala. You're coming with me." I don't want to go. It wasn't a request. Of course it wasn't. What if I say no? Then I'll carry you to the car. But I'd prefer you walk willingly. Less dramatic. I gritted my teeth. Why do I have to go? Because I need to appear with someone. And you are my companion. The pause before companion said it all. He didn't know how to categorize me. Prisoner was honest, but not presentable. Girlfriend was a lie, but convenient. So I'm an accessory, I summarized. You're a piece in a larger game. Yes. At least he was honest. Friday arrived too quickly. Maria appeared with a dress that took my breath away. Deep red, mermaid style, elegant and sensual at the same time. I can't wear that. You can and you will, Maria said firmly. Alessandro chose it personally. It would be an insult to refuse. Alessandro chose. Of course. Even that he controlled. But when I put it on, when I saw the reflection, I couldn't deny it. I was stunning. The dress hugged curves I didn't even know I had, the color making my skin glow. Madonna, Maria murmured, you will stop hearts. I just want to survive the night. I went downstairs and found Alessandro waiting. He was wearing a tuxedo, and God, it was unfair how good he looked. When he saw me, he froze. For a full moment, he just looked at me. You are... He stopped, composing himself. Acceptable. What a warm compliment again, I replied, but there was heat in my cheeks. The car was a black Rolls-Royce, the leather interior so soft it felt like a sin. I sat carefully, aware of Alessandro inches away from me. Rules for tonight, he said as the driver navigated the streets. You stay by my side at all times. You don't wander. You don't speak to strangers without me present. And you don't try anything stupid. Like what? Like screaming for help, warning someone, trying to escape. Bitterness burned. Because someone would help me? I'm so deep in this world now that no one would believe it. Exactly, he said. So don't waste energy. Just be yourself. Just more charming. The gala was at a 5-star hotel. An enormous ballroom already filled with the Harborview elite. Jewels that rivaled museum collections. Dresses that cost more than cars. And criminals, I quickly realized, everywhere. Half these people laundered money to be here. Alessandro murmured in my ear. The other half pretends not to know. It's a dance we all perform. He guided me through the crowd, a possessive hand on my waist. He introduced me simply as Sophia, his companion, leaving the implication hanging without confirmation. And I saw how people looked at me. Curiosity, envy, speculation. The woman next to Alessandro Vittorio was a statement. It meant something. If they only knew the truth. Alessandro! A female voice, melodious. We turned to find a stunning woman approaching. Raven black hair, cat green eyes, a gold dress that left little to the imagination. Valentina, Alessandro said, his voice neutral. I didn't expect you tonight. Wouldn't miss it. Especially when I heard you finally brought someone. Her eyes assessed me, running hot. So you're the mysterious Sophia. And you are? Valentina Caruso. She extended a hand with perfectly manicured nails. An old friend of Alessandro's. Very old. The way she said it, the intimacy in her tone made it clear. Possibly recent. A pleasure to meet you, I lied politely. Sophia works in a museum, Alessandro said. Art curator. How charming, Valentina said, in a way that sounded condescending. So interested in old things? It suits Alessandro. He gets stuck in the past, too. The tension between them was palpable. Unresolved history. If you'll excuse us, Alessandro said coldly. I have people to greet. He led me away, but I could feel Valentina's eyes burning into our backs. Ex-girlfriend? I asked. Something like that. She still wants you. She wants the power I represent, he corrected. There's a difference. And you? Do you still want her? The question came out before I could stop it. Alessandro stopped, turned me to face him. Why does it matter? It doesn't matter, I lied. Just curious. Valentina is the past. A past that ended for good reasons. Don't think about her anymore. But it was hard not to think about her when she kept showing up throughout the night. Always close, always observing, always with a smile that promised trouble. Aqui está a tradução fiel da próxima parte da sua história. I was getting champagne when Valentina appeared beside me. So, how did you really meet Alessandro? It wasn't a casual question. It was a test. He told you. Art gallery. And you believed that would work? She laughed. Darling, Alessandro doesn't go to galleries. He hates social events unless they are necessary for business. Maybe I'm an exception. Or, she leaned in close, you are business. The question is, what kind? My stomach tightened. Did she know? Did she suspect? I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't, Valentina said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Just a piece of advice? Alessandro is not a man to love. I tried. It nearly destroyed me. Whatever you think you have with him, it's an illusion. He's not capable of more. I'm not trying to. They all try, she interrupted. They all think they can be the one to melt his cold heart. But Alessandro doesn't have a heart to melt. Just ice and vengeance. Valentina. Alessandro's voice behind us, sharp as a blade. Leave Sophia alone. Just getting to know your new... What is she, Alessandro? Valentina challenged. Girlfriend, mistress, charity project? Get out. Now. It wasn't a request. It was an order. Valentina laughed but obeyed, swaying her hips as she disappeared into the crowd. Alessandro turned to me, concern in his eyes. What did she say? Nothing I didn't already know, I replied. That you're incapable of love, that I'm just... business. Sophia, she's right, isn't she? I'm business. A debt. A transaction. Nothing more than that. It's complicated. It is not. My voice came out louder than intended. People around us looked over. I lowered my voice. It's simple. You kidnapped me. You're holding me prisoner. Any kindness, any moment of humanity is just to make the cage more comfortable. But it's still a cage. Alessandro grabbed my elbow, guiding me to a private balcony away from the crowd. The fresh air hit my face but didn't ease the burning anger. You don't understand, he said once we were alone. I don't understand because you don't explain. You just give orders and expect obedience. Because explanation requires trust, and I don't know if I can trust you. Then let me go. If you don't trust me, if you don't want this, let me go. I can't, Alessandro yelled, losing control for the first time since I met him. I can't because... He stopped, breathing heavily. Because what? I pressed. Finish the sentence! Because I'm not doing this just for vengeance anymore. The confession hung between us, heavy and impossible. What does that mean? I whispered. Alessandro ran a hand through his hair, destroying his perfect hairstyle. It means I started this for a debt, for justice, to make you pay for your father's sins. But now what? Now I wake up thinking about you. Now I plan my day around our breakfasts. Now I see you laugh at something I said and I forget why I was angry. Now, he paused, vulnerable in a way I had never seen. Now you're a problem I don't know how to solve. My heart pounded uncontrollably. Alessandro, don't say anything, he pleaded. Just don't say anything yet, because I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to be what I need to be and feel what I'm feeling. And what are you feeling? He moved closer, so close I could feel the heat radiating from him. Something dangerous. Something I swore I would never feel. Something that can destroy both of us if I let it. Then he kissed me, and the world stopped. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was desperate, charged with weeks of tension, confusion, denied desire. His hands framed my face, holding me as if I were precious and terrifying at the same time. And I, God help me, kissed him back. I forgot I was a prisoner. I forgot the anger and the fear. I forgot everything except the sensation of his lips on mine, his body pressed against mine, the world narrowing until it was just us. When we separated, both breathless, reality returned with devastating force. "We can't do this," I whispered. "I know. You kidnapped me. I know. You're keeping me against my will. I know. Then why?" "Because," he rested his forehead against mine, "sometimes the heart doesn't listen to logic. And my heart, as much as I tried to kill it, wants you." We returned to the mansion in a charged silence. The kiss changed everything and nothing. I was still a prisoner. He was still the captor. But now there was something more. Something dangerous and thrilling and completely impossible. "Sophia," Alessandro said when we arrived. "About tonight." "Don't talk about it," I interrupted. "Please, don't make it worse with words. Worse would be lying. And we've lied enough. Then what is the truth?" He stared at me, conflict evident. "The truth is, I don't know how to make this right. I don't know how to be the man who keeps you and the man who cares about you. I don't know how to reconcile those things." "Maybe," I said softly, "you can't. Maybe there's no way to make this right. Then what do we do?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But continuing like this, pretending nothing changed, will destroy us." Alessandro nodded slowly. "Tomorrow we talk. For real. No masks, no games. Just the truth. Promise?" "I promise." But promises, I discovered, were fragile in Alessandro's world, because in the morning, everything changed again. I woke up to screams, chaos. I ran to the window and saw it. Black cars filling the driveway, armed men in defensive formation, and Alessandro in the center of it all, shouting orders. Something had happened. Something bad. I quickly got dressed and went downstairs. Maria intercepted me in the hallway, her face pale. "Go back to your room. Now." "What's going on?" "The Carusos. They attacked one of Alessandro's warehouses. 3 men killed. It's war now." "War." The word chilled me. "Alessandro. He's dealing with it. But you need to stay safe. Please, Sophia. Go back to your room and lock the door." I obeyed, terror replacing every other feeling. I locked myself in the room, my heart pounding as I listened to the chaotic movement below. Hours passed. No one came. Finally, at dusk, a knock on the door. "Sophia." "It's me." "Alessandro." I opened it to find him stained with blood. Not his, I hoped, but blood nonetheless. "Are you okay?" I asked, my hands automatically reaching for his face, checking for injuries. "I'm fine, but I need to tell you something." Something in his tone scared me. "What?" "The Carusos know about you. I don't know how, but they know. And they will try to use you against me." "Use me how?" "As leverage. As a hostage. As a bargaining chip." He grabbed my shoulders. "Sophia, understand. You are in real danger now. Not just because of me, but because of enemies who want to destroy me through you. Then let me go. If I'm a danger, if I'm a weakness." "I can't," he said fiercely. "Because now it's not about dead anymore. It's about keeping you alive. And the only way to do that is to keep you close, where I can protect you. Alessandro, tomorrow you move to the private wing, my quarters. Security is reinforced. Guards 24 hours. That is necessary and non-negotiable." I should have argued, protested. But I saw genuine fear in his eyes. Fear for me. And it changed everything. Moving to Alessandro's wing was surreal. His rooms were enormous. A master suite with its own living room, office, private balcony. And now, it also had me. "There's a separate bedroom," he showed me, opening an adjacent door. "Privacy when you need it. And when I don't need it, then we are together." Simple as that. It wasn't simple. None of this was simple. But I adapted because the alternative was thinking about dangerous men wanting to use me. The first days were strange. We woke up in the same suite, breakfast together. He worked in the office while I read. We had dinner, talked, existed in a proximity that was intimate without crossing lines. But the lines were there, tempting, dangerous. One night, a week into the new situation, I woke up with a nightmare. Men hunting me, Alessandro bleeding, death everywhere. I screamed, waking up in a cold sweat. Alessandro was there seconds later, still half asleep. "Sophia? What happened?" "Nightmare," I managed to say between ragged breaths. "Just a nightmare." He sat on the edge of the bed, his hand finding mine. "You're safe. I promise." "How can you promise? How can anyone promise safety in this world?" "Because I would die before letting anything happen to you." The brutal simplicity of the statement left me speechless. "Alessandro." "Sleep," he said softly. "I'll stay here until you sleep." "You don't have to." "I have to." So he stayed, sitting there, holding my hand, until my breathing was regular and I fell asleep again. And when I woke up in the morning, he was still there, asleep in an uncomfortable chair because he promised to stay. Something in my chest tightened. This man, this impossible, dangerous man who kidnapped me. This man who was now ruining his posture in a hard chair because he wanted to make me feel safe. How could I hate him when he did things like that? Nights became our time. When business ended, when the outside world silenced, we sat on the balcony with wine and simply talked. "Tell me about your father," Alessandro said one night. "Not the version I know. Your version." I hesitated. Talking about Dad with the man who hated him felt like betrayal. But there was also a desire to share the good memories, to make someone see the man I loved. "He made pancakes on Sundays," I began. "He always burned the first one, said it was for the kitchen spirits. It was a silly tradition, but it made me laugh. And he taught me Italian through songs. He sang terribly, but he didn't care." A smile touched Alessandro's lips. "He sounds like he was a good father." He was. The best father I could have asked for. And now, tears burned. Now I don't know what was real. I don't know if the man I loved existed, or if he was a carefully constructed persona. "Both can be true," Alessandro said thoughtfully. "People are complex. Your father could be a loving father and also a criminal. One doesn't cancel the other." "How can you say that? You hated him." "I hated the betrayal, but it doesn't mean I don't recognize he was human. Complicated. Perhaps even with reasons for what he did." I looked at him in surprise. "Are you defending him?" "I'm saying the world isn't black and white. It's a vast gray where good people do bad things and bad people do good things. Your father was probably somewhere in the middle. Like you." The words came out soft but heavy. Alessandro stared at me. "Yes, like me. But at least I don't pretend to be something I'm not." "No," I agreed. "You are honestly dishonest." He laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. What a perfect description. We were silent for a long moment, watching the darkness of the vast gardens that stretched beyond the balcony, illuminated only by the soft moonlight and the security lights that invisibly patrolled the perimeter. The distant sound of guard steps and the muffled barking of dogs was a constant reminder of the dangerous reality surrounding us. A world he didn't choose, but that chose him and shaped him into something hard and unforgiving. "I didn't want this world, Sophia," he confessed, his voice deep and low, barely breaking the silence. "You asked me why I chose it. I didn't choose it. My father was the king of this city, and when he and my mother were killed in that brutal ambush, there was no choice. It was succeed or die. The grief turned into duty, and the duty turned into the armor you see." I looked at him, the image of a 16-year-old boy alone, receiving parts of his mother's body in the mail, burning in my mind. It was a pain that went beyond the revenge for a $5 million debt. It was the foundation of his fear of being vulnerable, of his contempt for love. "You buried the boy," I whispered, "and created the monster. But the boy is still here, Alessandro. The boy who gets up at night to make sure I'm okay. The man who reads Dante and cares about the beauty of a garden. The man who kissed me at the ball, knowing it was a mistake." He looked away, his jaw tense. "The kiss was a calculated mistake, a lapse in judgment under stress. The war with the Carusos demands focus, and you are a dangerous distraction. I brought you here to get revenge, to stabilize my finances destabilized by your father, and instead, you are the biggest instability I have ever faced." My nonno used to say that a boss's biggest mistake is becoming emotionally attached to a hostage. The Carusos used love to kill my mother, and now you make me feel something I swore never to feel. This is not fair. This is the real punishment I deserve for being careless. I moved closer, my silk dress brushing against his. "Then punish me, but don't deny what you're feeling. We can no longer pretend I'm just collateral. Your hand on mine during dinner, the way you plan your life around mine, the panic I saw in your eyes when you knew the Carusos knew about me, that's not the behavior of a captor dealing with a debt. It's the despair of a man who is falling in love with his prisoner." The word hung in the air. Falling in love. It was a terrifying admission for both of us. his dark gaze fixed on mine, filled with an intensity that devoured me. If I fall in love with you, Sophia, I destroy you. Or they use you to destroy me. It's the same thing. Love is a luxury my world does not allow, and I can't drag you into this darkness. You already dragged me, I retorted, my voice surprisingly firm. The difference is now I'm dragging you into the light. Your father stole my predictable life, and your world stole your soul. Maybe we were put together to save each other, or to destroy each other together. I don't know what the fate is, but I won't run from it anymore. I won't run from you anymore, he groaned, a rough, frustrated sound before pulling me into a tight, desperate embrace. It wasn't sexual, it was possessive and protective, as if he were absorbing me into himself, to a place where no one could touch us, not even the Mafia, he commanded. Don't say that, he whispered into my hair. Don't give me hope I can't pay for. You can pay, I said, looking at him with determination. Not with money, but with honesty. I demand honesty, Alessandro. You promised me we would talk for real, tomorrow. But tomorrow the war will be at the door. The truth is now, and the truth is we have a problem. And that problem isn't the $5 million debt. It's that I care about you. And what you feel for me is breaking you. And I can't hate you. I can't hate the man who risks everything to protect me. The man who shows me his pain. What do we do then? If you can't let me go and you can't love me, what's the plan, Alessandro? Tell me the truth. The raw truth of your world and the brutal truth of your heart. The question remained suspended between us as the tension peaked. He pulled away, his eyes flashing with decision. You're right. The time for games is over. The Carusos are a real threat, and I won't wait for them to hit us. My plan was to pay the debt, but now it's to guarantee your safety and mine. And that requires a sacrifice. Not of your freedom, but of your reputation. The only way to keep you safe, to convince everyone, including my rivals and the bosses of other families, that you are not a hostage and therefore useless as leverage, is if you are seen as something more than a companion. You need to become an unassailable part of my world, the center of it. You need to be mine. Not for debt, but by choice. This is my only solution, and it is dangerous. Do you accept the risk? Alessandro's proposal hung in the air like a threat and a promise, a dangerous contract sealed by fear. The yes was not for a marriage of love, but for a pact of survival. I looked into his eyes, no longer those of the cold kidnapper, but those of a cornered man, offering his only and most dangerous defense. You're proposing that I pretend to be your life partner, so your enemies ignore me? I asked, my voice a husky whisper. So that I'm more useful alive and visible by your side than dead or as a hostage? You're turning our lie into a public truth to protect us? Alessandro nodded, the seriousness weighing on every syllable. Exactly. The Carusos attacked my warehouses. They are furious. They will look for a weakness. You are the obvious weakness. The daughter of the man who stole from me, the prisoner who cost me $5 million in debts, and more importantly, the woman who awakened something that shouldn't have. If they know you're my mistress, or worse, my hostage, they will kidnap you and make you pay the price of my vulnerability. But if you are my fiancé, if you are the woman I chose, who softened me, who is here by choice and with high status, you become useless to them as leverage. Attacking you would be an act of war against a future capo, something that would require the support of other families. They will back down. It is the lowest risk. The Mafia logic was brutal and strangely coherent. The lie raised to maximum power. But this meant giving up any chance of a life outside his gilded cage, of completely burying Sofia Romano, the art curator. And what is my role in this Meyer performance? I am not a puppet, Alessandro. If I'm going to enter your world, I won't just be an accessory in an expensive dress. I need strength. I need a voice. He smiled, a rare, genuine movement of his lips that disarmed me for a second. That's why I chose you. You have more strength than you imagine. Your role is simple. To be the woman who calms me. To be the intelligence I can't have in public. The beauty that distracts my rivals. And internally, you will be my confidant. The only person who knows the truth of my heart. We will not be lovers, unless you decide otherwise. But in public, we will have to have unquestionable proximity. Our first appearance will be in 3 days, at an emergency meeting of the Concilio. I need you there, with a ring on your finger, so the rumor spreads before the Carusos can act. The word Concilio sounded grim and definitive. It was the inner circle of the Mafia's power. And if I say no, will you force me? No, he said, his hand gently holding my face, his thumb stroking my cheek. You kidnapped me, but I never touched you. I never forced you into anything, except to eat and sleep safely. I could lock you in a basement for your protection, but that wouldn't work long term, and it would be an unsustainable lie. I can only protect you if you help me lie to the world. If you say no, I will still hide and protect you, but the risk will be 10 times greater, and I will probably have to kill 10 times more men. I felt my body tremble, not from fear, but from decision. The life I had was dead. My new life, if I wanted to survive, would have to be by the side of the man who kidnapped me. The risk was astronomical, but the reward, the chance to humanize him, to find his Marco Romano and save him, was a temptation I couldn't resist. I accept, I declared, lifting my chin, allowing my eyes to fix on his, fire meeting steel. But with my terms. First, you will tell me everything about my father, what he stole, why, and where the money is. I will not accept being the wife of a mafioso who still has secrets from my past. I want the complete truth. Second, I will not just be your fiancé. I will be your equal. If I am in danger, I will be informed. If you have to fight, I want to know who is fighting and why. You will no longer hide me in the name of protection. And finally, there will be no intimacy beyond what the performance requires until the war is over. And if I find out that you are using me for something other than the protection of both of us, I will destroy you from the inside out. Alessandro's smile widened, making him even more dangerous. I expected nothing less from you, a woman who accepts the darkness to bring the light. About your father, the money has not yet been found. Marco Romano was smarter than we thought. He hid the money before he died, and the theft was different from what I thought. It was more a form of blackmail than pure theft. And I accept your terms, Sofia Romano. I will give you all the information you ask for, and you will be my queen on the Concilio chessboard. From now on, we are not captor and hostage. We are accomplices. The sexual and emotional tension that had been suppressed for weeks exploded in the room. He pulled me by the waist, lifting me so I was level with his gaze, and kissed me. This time, it wasn't a kiss of desperation, but of ownership. A kiss that celebrated the pact we had just sealed. As we separated, out of breath, he smiled. The ring will come tomorrow. The show starts the day after tomorrow. Welcome to my world, mia cara. The following morning brought the reality of my pact with an undeniable force. I woke up alone in Alessandro's enormous bed, but the room no longer felt like a prison, but rather the stage of a high-risk play that I had agreed to perform. The door leading to his room was ajar. An invitation, a reminder of the dangerous proximity we now shared. Maria entered shortly after 10, no longer with a breakfast tray, but with a jewelry box in black velvet. He asked me to deliver this to you personally, she said, her eyes gentle but weighted with concern. I opened the box. Inside, a single diamond, so large it seemed to steal all the light from the suite, surrounded by a pavé of black sapphires inlaid in white gold. It wasn't a romantic engagement ring, it was a declaration of power, a piece of armor. It's a lot, I murmured, feeling the weight of the stone before I even touched it. It's a fortress on your finger, Maria gently corrected. Mr. Vittorio wants you to understand that, from now on, you are under his absolute protection. This ring is the proof to the world, and that's why it's so ostentatious. It's his way of shouting to the Carusos that you are untouchable. I put the ring on. It slipped on perfectly, heavy and cold, and suddenly I felt different. Stronger, perhaps. Or just scarier. I was the museum girl wearing the Mafia's jewel. It was the physical proof of my betrayal of everything I had ever valued. The afternoon was consumed by an intensive lesson on the Concilio and the obscure politics of Harborview. Alessandro took me to his office, the place that was previously forbidden, and opened maps, organizational charts, and files, fulfilling the first term of my pact. The Concilio is the table of peace and war, he explained, his voice professional and focused, as if the night before had never existed. It is the council of the most influential families. Being there is risky. You need to maintain the role, Sofia. My arm will be on your waist, and you have to relax. If you look forced, if you look like a hostage, they will see it and use it against me. And about your father. The blackmail was about documents that prove my father's money laundering with the Colombian cartel. Marco Romano stole the money to have leverage and prevent me from using those documents at the consiglio. He wanted to destroy us. But the documents haven't been found. He hid them better than the money. The fact that my father stole for blackmail, to prevent Alessandro from doing something, was a sliver of hope. He was a criminal, but perhaps a criminal with a moral purpose, trying to save someone from an even worse mafia. The complexity hit me like a punch. So, you are at war with the Carusos, but they might have support from more dangerous families if they know about those documents, I summarized. That's why the passionate fiancé lie is so vital. If I look stable and focused on you, no one will suspect I'm worried about your father's blackmail. The time came. Maria helped me into an impeccably tailored black suit, powerful and elegant, leaving no room for error. I went down the stairs, feeling the weight of responsibility on my shoulders and the weight of the diamond on my finger. Alessandro was waiting for me in the drawing room, wearing a navy tuxedo. His eyes scanned me, and a look of barely contained pride lit up his face. Ready for your baptism by fire? I was born for this, I lied, but there was truth in my voice. The concilio was not held in a ballroom, but in an old house on top of a cliff, somber and imposing. As soon as we stepped out of the car, I was forced to face it. Armed guards everywhere. Large, cold men in expensive suits. Alessandro took my hand and guided me inside, his hand protective and possessive on my back. Smile, Sophia. You love me, he whispered in my ear. And I smiled. The smile of a woman who was about to risk everything for a man who had kidnapped her. We entered the room. The round table was filled with severe, observant faces. Marco Rossini, the man from dinner, was there. But the center of attention was another, an older man, with scars on his face and eyes as cold as ice, sitting at the head of the table. Don Salvatore, the Caruso patriarch. Upon seeing him, I felt cold, venomous hatred. Alessandro guided us directly to the table, his hand introducing me to the world as his most valuable trophy. Gentlemen, Alessandro said, his voice firm and confident like a leader's. I apologize for the delay, but I had a vital matter to resolve. I would like to introduce you to Sofia Romano, my fiancée. She and I have been engaged for a short time, but she is already an inseparable part of my life. Any matter involving me now involves her. Don Salvatore stared at us, and then he smiled. A smile that promised more danger than any frown. A rare beauty, Alessandro. An art curator. What an interesting change for you. My congratulations. But forgive my indiscretion. You keep her well guarded. By chance, would she not be the daughter of your former accountant, Marco Romano, who fled with $5 million? The question hit the room like lightning, and I felt all eyes fixed on me. Don Salvatore's question echoed in the room, silencing even the murmur of voices. The silence was heavy, loaded with expectation and danger. I felt Alessandro's hand tense on my waist, a silent but clear warning. Here and now, the lie must become your new truth. All eyes, from Marco Rossini to the head of the most obscure family, were fixed on me, assessing whether I was a scared doll or a dangerous woman. I remembered my terms. I will not just be an accessory, and you will be my equal. This was my moment to prove my worth on his chessboard. I looked directly at Don Salvatore, the man with the ice-cold eyes, and did not allow fear, panic, or anger to show through. I returned a cold, studied smile, the same smile I would give an eccentric collector at the museum who is trying to sell a fake Picasso. It is an honor to meet you, Don Salvatore, I began, my voice calm and perfectly modulated, without a single tremor. I spoke in fluent Italian, something my father taught me, and that Alessandro might have forgotten I possessed. Yes, I am Sofia Romano, daughter of Marco Romano, and you are absolutely correct. My father, unfortunately, acted dishonorably toward the Vittorio family, stealing millions. It was the only thing he knew how to do to try to protect me from a world he didn't understand. I paused dramatically, letting the words echo. Gradually, the expressions of the men at the table changed from skepticism to forced curiosity. Alessandro relaxed only a fraction, and I felt the relief in his hand. What my father did, he did out of fear. And because of that, Alessandro Vittorio had every right to seek justice and vengeance. When I first met Alessandro, I was terrified. He came to collect. I was the collateral for an unpaid family debt. But fate has a peculiar sense of humor. I twisted the ring on my finger, making the diamond sparkle under the light of the crystal chandelier, drawing all eyes to the physical proof of my new status. Alessandro is a man of principles, gentlemen. He didn't want the money. He wanted the honor. He wanted the debt to be paid in a way that brought him peace. He kept me here to punish me, but instead of breaking me, he showed me his world, showed me his pain and his traumas. He showed me the wounded boy who promised not to love, and I, instead of fearing him, realized the nobility of his burden and the sacrifice he makes to maintain peace and protection over this city. The debt was paid, Don Salvatore, not with money but with loyalty. My father stole my life, and Alessandro stole my heart. And in return, I chose him. I chose to stand by his side, to help him carry the burden. I chose to be the light he so fears. The ring is not a guarantee of debt. It is the symbol of an alliance. And whoever touches me, touches the honor and the future of the Vittorios. My kidnapping was, in fact, an unconventional love story. And if you ask me, I forgive him for the debt. And I love him for the honor he showed me. This is my place, not as a hostage, but as the future wife of the capo. Don Salvatore did not stop smiling, but there was a veiled fury in his eyes. He tried the leverage of debt and shame, and I turned it into a story of love and redemption that the Concilio would love to speculate about. He knew that by giving me a reason to stay, I had disarmed the bomb he was about to set off. An eloquent answer, Ms. Romano, he said, clapping his hand slowly. An art curator with the eloquence of a diplomat. You are clearly welcome at the table. But I hope this love does not make you soft, Alessandro. War is hard, and the loyalty of a new fiancé, however passionate the story, is always questionable. Remember, the price of weakness in our world is death. Alessandro squeezed my hand, a gesture that was both gratitude and possession. He inclined his head, looking at Don Salvatore. Her loyalty is my greatest strength, Don Salvatore. And the only thing that makes me soft is the idea that you might touch her. I suggest we focus the meeting on your bad faith attacks on my warehouses, instead of on my future wife's love life. The meeting continued, focused on territory and armistice. I remained silent, my performance concluded, but my mind was working on what I had discovered. My father stole to blackmail. He wasn't just a thief, but someone trying to prevent a greater evil, and the documents proving money laundering with the Colombian cartel were somewhere. And I was at the center of that truth. The moment the meeting ended, Alessandro quickly led me out, the tension still palpable. We got into the car, and he took a deep breath, looking exhausted but victorious. You were magnificent, he murmured, looking at me with an admiration he was not faking. You turned humiliation into a legend that will be told in every family. No one will question your presence now. But now, Sophia, the risk is greater than ever. Don Salvatore tried. He failed, and he will want you even more. The silence in the Rolls-Royce on the way back was different. It wasn't the tense silence of a prisoner and a captor, but the charged quietness of two accomplices who had just come out of a life-or-death battle. Alessandro looked at me with an intensity that set the inside of the car on fire. His hand left my waist, but instead of moving away, he held my ringed hand, raising it to kiss the diamond. Her loyalty is my greatest strength, he repeated, quoting himself at the meeting with a satisfied smile. You did more to solidify my position tonight than 10 years of financial deals. Now, everyone thinks you are my weakness, but in fact, you are my secret weapon. The secret weapon has questions, I said, gently pulling my hand away. You fulfilled the second part of our pact, gave me the truth about my father's blackmail, but the Concilio only confirmed that I am a target. What will you do now? We can't just keep pretending. Don Salvatore won't wait for the war to end to attack me. The first kidnapping attempt will be imminent. He nodded, the satisfaction disappearing to make way for cold strategy. The mansion will become an impenetrable fortress. The men you saw today will be on triple guard. You will not leave any more, Sophia, not even for the gardens. It's the only price you have to pay for becoming mine. But there's something else we need to discuss, and it's about the first term of your pact, intimacy. You said, there will be no intimacy beyond what the performance requires, until the war is over. The performance required a kiss at the ball, and it required me to defend you with the speech that, you stole my heart. For Don Salvatore and the others, this story only holds up if there is what they call proof of devotion. I looked out the window, feeling the heat rise in my neck. My captor was giving me the choice to be his lover to protect him and to protect myself. The complexity of this situation was psychological torture. Are you telling me I need to sleep with you to convince the Mafia that I am a real fiancé? That this is the only way to fend off the Caruso's interest? I'm not saying that, he corrected, his voice becoming softer, more dangerous. I am being honest with you, as I promised. If there is any indication that you are being held by force or that our relationship is just a forced performance, they will try to rescue you, to use you. Don Salvatore would ask me why such a beautiful woman would still be in the room next door. They are predators, Sophia, and predators look for the scent of uncertainty. Your safety now depends not only on my armor, but on your role in breaking me. But the choice is still yours. I am not a monster. If you say no, I will accept it and increase the guard, but it will be a risk we will have to manage daily. We went to the suite. He stopped at the door of my adjacent room. It was the moment of truth. I could go in, close the door, and sleep in the cold safety of solitude. Or I could cross the threshold into his room, into the dangerous warmth of his protection. You told me you couldn't love me, I said, looking at him, the decision already made in my heart. You told me love was a weakness in your world. And yet, you proposed this pact to me and risked everything at the concilio for me. I don't know if what I feel is love. It's more like an incurable disease. But I know that if I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight by your side. And if they are looking for proof of devotion, then let them receive the proof. I took a step forward, closing the door to my room, symbolically ending my previous life. I held his face with both hands. I'm not going to be your collateral or your secret weapon who sleeps in another bed. If I'm going to be yours, I'm going to be everything. You didn't force me into this, Alessandro. I chose. I am giving you my trust to destroy me, if that is your wish. But understand, if you use me, I break you back. That is the price of honor. His dark eyes were like embers. He didn't say anything else, just pulled me to his chest, and this time the kiss was slow, reverent, a silent agreement between broken souls. He carried me in his arms, took me to his main bedroom, and the weight of the ring on my finger became the only weight that mattered. That night, the prisoner became the fiancé, the kidnapping became the passion, and the revenge turned into the fear of losing the only thing that made them feel human. I had crossed the line, and Alessandro's punishment, love, had become my punishment too. Our new reality was a delicate dance between desperate intimacy and constant danger. After that night, the wall between us crumbled, but the outside world pressed us with redoubled fury. The Caruso attack on the warehouse was the prelude. Now, war had settled into our routine. Alessandro spent the day locked in his office, coordinating defenses, retaliations, and tense meetings. I was always by his side, no longer as a prisoner, but as his forced confidant. My presence at the table, my silence, and my glances aided him. I learned about logistics, betrayal, and the power map of Harborview, absorbing everything like a sponge. He told me about the war, fulfilling my term, and I offered him an external perspective that his men, loyal but limited, couldn't give. The problem with the Carusos isn't strength, it's patience, I said one morning, while he studied photos of an attacked depot. They are playing chess while you are playing checkers. They don't want the warehouse. They want to destabilize your image of control so that the smaller families question your leadership. You need to act like a king, not a field general. He looked at me, surprised, and then laughed. You are unbelievable, Sophia. You were restoring delicate paintings a month ago, and now you are advising a capo on war tactics. And you are right. I will give them a display of force that no one will question. While he planned the retaliation, I focused on the other front of the battle, my father's secret. Alessandro had told me that the $5 million theft was, in fact, blackmail to prevent the documents about money laundering with the Colombian cartel from falling into the wrong hands, i.e., his. This meant my father wasn't just a thief, but a criminal with a protective purpose, and the documents proving this were hidden. But where? Marco Romano hid documents, not money, I muttered one night, sitting in the library while Alessandro was in the office. An accountant would use a safe, a bank, but not my father. He was a man of art and history. He thought in metaphors and past centuries. Suddenly, the memory of our last real conversation before he died hit me hard. Sophia, mia cara, if something happens to me, there's an envelope in the safe. But don't open it unless absolutely necessary. And don't trust anyone linked to the name Vittorio. The envelope was found and stolen by Alessandro's men on the first night. But what was inside? Maria had told me that the men had taken it to Alessandro, who had examined it. I called Alessandro, knocking on the office door. He received me, exhausted, but patient. What is it, mia cara? Found any weakness in the defenses? I found a weakness in your story. The envelope your men stole from me on the first night. What was inside? Tell me the truth, without omissions. He hesitated for a second. It was a copy of my mother's birth certificate, photos of her young, and an old letter from an Italian priest, talking about a gift in the New World. I ignored it. I thought it was useless sentimentality to distract me from the debt. Useless sentimentality? I almost screamed. You ignore the only clue your father left? Your mother's birth certificate, a letter from a priest, and the mention of a gift. That's not sentimentality, Alessandro. It's an encrypted clue. My father was a lover of ancient history. He used art as a code. Where did he hide the envelope? Behind which painting? Behind the one he gave you on your 21st birthday, he replied, his voice confused. A painting of lilacs, remember? We recovered it, but it was useless. It's not useless. I stood up, the art curator in me waking up with a feverish urgency. The lilacs. Lilacs mean first love or memory. Your father was talking about your first love, your mother, the mother you lost, whom he considered a friend before the betrayal. Alessandro, the clue isn't the birth certificate. It's the gift in the New World and the priest's letter. He looked at me, his dark eyes widening with the new perspective. What are you insinuating? I'm insinuating that the $5 million dollars no longer exist, but that they were exchanged for the documents, and that the documents are hidden in something that connects my father, your father, his mother, and art. Think about where the Vittorios used to meet, where your grandfather built the mansion. What was important in your family history? The Caruso War is not just about power, it's about these documents, and your father knew it. And only I can find them, because he used art to communicate. My revelation about my father's clue shook Alessandro in a way that the war against the Carusos hadn't managed. He wasn't just the mafioso. He was the son searching for the truth about the betrayal. What connects my father, my grandfather, my mother, and art? He repeated, his voice heavy with urgency, his eyes fixed on the files. I pulled a blueprint of the mansion from his desk, a map of the estate that Maria showed me on my forced tour. The library. It is the heart of this house, built by your nonno and filled with priceless books. You told me he collected art. He used art to communicate. And the clue is the statue he brought from Italy, the gift of the New World. Alessandro remembered, his eyes widening. A bronze statue of Dante Alighieri, your father's favorite author. It stands in the center of the library. He placed it there after my mother died. We ran to the library. I was ahead. The place seemed even more solemn and silent under the nightlight. I went directly to the statue of Dante, the poet's somber figure staring into the void. Lilacs mean memory, Alessandro. Your mother's birth certificate was the trigger, but Dante is the key. Inferno, purgatory, paradise. Your father felt he was in purgatory, trying to protect the only person he cared about. You. He used the author we both loved. The statue is the location. I examined the marble base of the statue. My art curator fingers traced the Latin inscriptions adorning the base. Here, I murmured. It's a verse from Dante's Purgatorio. Poca favilla gran fiamma seconda. A small spark can be followed by a great flame. It's a metaphor for hope, or for truth. And the number next to the casting date, 1012. Alessandro knelt beside me, understanding the coding. December 16th. My mother's birthday. It's a date code. But what does it open? I searched the registry book that my father had taught me to use, looking for cracks, levers, or false keys. It was a mechanism, not just a statue. I pressed the number 10 on the inscription, rotated the 12, and felt a dry click. The marble floor beneath the statue moved, revealing a small secret chamber. Inside, there was no 5 million. There was a locked metal box. Alessandro broke it open with a strike of pure force. Inside was what we were looking for. The documents. They were money laundering contracts, audio recordings, and most importantly, a handwritten confession from my father. The confession revealed that he didn't steal the money. He transferred it to an anonymous custodial fund under my grandmother's name. The theft was fictitious, the money was safe, and the blackmail was the documents. Marco Romano was threatening to expose the Vittorio family's connection to the Colombian cartel, not to steal, but to force Alessandro to retire and leave the Mafia, saving him from a path my father knew would kill him, just as it killed his parents. He didn't betray me, Alessandro whispered, running his hands through his hair. He tried to save me. He stole my honor to give me life, and I kidnapped you for revenge. The truth was overwhelming. My father was a criminal, but a failed hero. Alessandro was an avenger, but a deceived son. I looked at his face, at the pain and remorse consuming him. The money is still there, in a custodial fund. You can recover it, pay the debt, and have your honor back. But now you have the power he tried to hide. If you use these documents, you destroy the Carusos, but you expose your own empire. And if you don't use them, Don Salvatore will find him and kill us. What do you do, Alessandro? Do you honor your father and keep the power he built, or honor my father and use this chance to finally leave this cycle of violence? While he stood, paralyzed by the choice, a sound shattered the silence of the night. Breaking glass. The alarm exploded. Screams and gunfire echoed through the main hall. "The Carusos!" Alessandro shouted, pulling me behind the bookshelf. They came. They knew I'd be vulnerable. The sound of shattering glass was the death sentence for my life as a curator, and the birth of a new Sofia, the capo's fiancée. There was no time for fear, only for action. Alessandro grabbed me by the waist, pulling me back behind the bookshelf with such force that I smelled dust and aged paper. Don Salvatore is not stupid. He knew something vital was here. He yelled over the chaos. The gunfire was close now, the heavy boots of the Caruso men crushing the hall's marble. I had the documents in my hands, the secret that could save us or sink us. "We can't run with this," I shouted, pointing at the envelope. "If they catch us, they get the proof and the money. You have to make your choice, Alessandro. Honor your legacy and use these documents to destroy the Carusos, or honor my father and use them to get out for good." Alessandro looked at me, and in that moment I saw the 16-year-old boy who had sworn never to be weak. He squeezed his eyes shut and his decision was made. It wasn't the capo's decision, it was the decision of the man who loved me. He gave me a quick, desperate kiss on the forehead. "I choose you, Sofia. I choose the life you showed me is possible." He threw the documents and the metal box into the library fireplace. The first spark of fire, Dante's Poca Favia, licked the confidential papers. "The money stays in the anonymous fund. I'll pay the $5 million to my organization, but I won't be the man my father created anymore. I'm burning the bridge to my darkness." The Carusos burst into the library. In the center stood Don Salvatore, smiling like a demon. "Alessandro, I knew you'd come here. Where's the proof? Where's the fiancé?" Alessandro stood up in front of me, his gun already in hand. "The only proof you're taking from here is your regret, Salvatore. Get out of my house and my life." The exchange of fire was deafening. Alessandro fought with a predator's ferocity that scared me, but that kept me alive. In the middle of the chaos, I saw Don Salvatore aim over the shoulder of one of his men. The target wasn't Alessandro. It was me. Before I could scream, Alessandro jumped in front of me. I felt the pressure of the air, and a guttural cry escaped Alessandro's lips. He stumbled. Blood spurted from his shoulder. In that instant, the world stopped. I screamed and, in a fit of blind fury, grabbed the gun that fell from his hands and aimed it at Don Salvatore. The man looked at me, surprised by the fire he saw in his victim's eyes. He hesitated. In that second of hesitation, Alessandro's guards poured into the library, and the balance tipped. Don Salvatore was hit, falling with a dull thud. The rest of his men were subdued. I ran to Alessandro, who was on his knees, clutching his shoulder. "I'm fine," he gasped. "Just a scratch of love. They're gone. It's all over, mia cara. You saved me, and I chose your light." 1 year later. 1 year has passed since that night. The shot to Alessandro's shoulder sent him to the hospital and, publicly, he retired from command due to serious injuries, passing control of the family to Marco Rossini, a loyal man he could control remotely. My father's money was discreetly returned to the organization, paying the $5 million debt, and the secret of the documents was buried with the ashes. Don Salvatore recovered, but without the Consiglio's support, he was forced into exile, never threatening our lives again. We no longer live in the mansion. Alessandro sold it, and bought a discreet seaside house in the harbor district. Not my old one, but a house with floral sheets and a view of the water, the kind of place I used to dream of having. The diamond and sapphire ring is still on my finger, but now it is a symbol of choice, not captivity. My job at the museum was recovered, and I am now the assistant director. Alessandro? He became an art and antiquity consultant, using his vast wealth to acquire and restore collections, which gives him honest work, power, and stability. He is still a dangerous man, but now he is my dangerous man. Sitting on the porch, under the soft sun, I feel a kick. Light, but unmistakable. I am 6 months pregnant. A girl. Alessandro walks in, his dark eyes shining, no longer with vengeance, but with love. I found you, he murmurs, kissing my forehead and kneeling to kiss my belly. Is Marco Jr. okay? It's Isabella, you goof, I laugh, running my hand through his hair. And yes, she's great. She's waiting for her father to take us to buy lilacs for the garden. He smiles, the smile that disarms me. Lilacs for her mother. A new beginning for us. I kidnapped you for revenge, Sophia Romano, and you became the punishment that saved me. I love you, my life. I love him too. The most improbable and dangerous love story became our reality. Thank you for following our story. Tell me here in the comments what you thought of this ending. I really want to know your opinion. And also tell me what location you're watching from. I'd love to read it. If you liked the story, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories to come.